What happened to the crew of a well-known ship that was found abandoned? Were they killed by merpeople? Perhaps they ascended to a higher plane of existence where they had no need for earthly forms. Stick around and you might just find out on this episode of Unsolved Mysteries. Solved! Welcome back to another episode of this podcast, which is Unsolved Mysteries Solved, as I just yelled into the mic. It is another glorious... Fucking Christ almighty.
I am loving your weird energy. This is amazing. I'm not the only one screwing up words.
It is another gloriously mysterious Saturday. As always, I am your ever humble host and PhD in solving unsolved mysteries, Dr. Chad Kimmons. With me today, as always, is my lovely co-host, also a PhD in solving unsolved mysteries and self-proclaimed expert in finding Waldo, Dr. Cassandra Cherry. Cass, how are you now?
I'm great. Also, Waldo is currently in Antarctica. I've seen it. He had to go experience the real Frozen for himself.
The real Frozen?
Yes.
Okay. That's not where Frozen took place, but okay.
I mean, but that is where most people get frozen. Let's be real. There's a cryogenics lab down there, and I mean, it's gonna suffer like a catastrophic failure because of the shutdown of Overwatch as a governmental system. But you know, in 20 years, it'll get like some sort of like surge, or maybe an earthquake's gonna pop it open. I don't know. Anyways, Waldo's down there.
Is this real life? Like, what is happening right now inside your brain? Like, you went from Waldo to Frozen, now you're talking about fucking Overwatch.
It's all connected.
Are you okay?
Connected.
I feel like the answer is a resounding I don't know. Probably not, but are you okay?
I have had half a cup of coffee today.
No. Well, hold on. Let me take a sip of my tea here.
Yeah, my tea's too hot for me to drink. I'm very sad.
Drinking Yogi brand Breathe Deep tea.
Hashtag non-spawn.
Yogi brand Breathe Deep tea.
Mm-hmm.
Are you having trouble breathing because you're forced to wear a mask? Take a sip of Yogi brand Breathe Deep tea.
Hashtag not spawn. And I, over here,
What is not spawn?
Not sponsored. Like, we're not being paid to make this an advertisement.
Yeah, this is, hey, Yogi, we are...
Sponsor us, please. Because
we'll sell out.
Yeah, and I, over here, am drinking Yogi brand Throat Comfort Tea. Allergies getting you down? Pick yourself up with a soothing, refreshing cup of Throat Comfort Tea.
I was going to say, got a wicked bruise on the back of your throat that you can't talk about with polite company?
Fair! That too!
Well, today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Mary Celeste. It was a ship that went missing. Nope, that's not what happened.
No? What?
No,
I don't know what the Mary Celeste is. She sounds lovely, though.
I don't know why I said that, because it didn't go missing. It was found abandoned.
Okay.
But anyway.
I mean, technically, to find something that's abandoned, it has to go missing first.
Well, like, there was no record of it having disappeared, though.
Huh.
Is what I mean.
Okay.
Like, it wasn't like it went missing for 10 years and then somebody just randomly found it.
Yeah, not like Pan Am.
It was found abandoned. Yeah. So anyway, I guess let's just go ahead and dive right on into the mystery.
Oh, yeah, get in that deep zone.
So, on May 18th, 1861, we're going to get a little bit of history about the Mary Celeste first.
Okay. Hit me with it.
On May 18th, 1861, a brigantine ship, which is a two-master with, like, square rigging, was launched from Spencer's Island in Nova Scotia. And it was launched under the British registration of Amazon.
Uh-huh.
The ship was first owned and captained by a Robert McClellan, who fell sick and died. Basically, he was out on a voyage, he got sick, they went back to Spencer's Island. He died on June 19th.
So he got down with the scurvy because he was obviously a pirate hired by Jeff Bezos.
And his first mate was John McCracken.
Yes!
But after his death, the ship changed hands a couple of times, and like it was sailed to London, and it was sailed to Marseille in France. Went to the West Indies or the East Indies. It went to one of the Indies. I don't know.
It went to an indie. Like,
yeah.
It started up an indie band. That's how indie it was.
That was a terrible joke.
It was. We can cut that joke.
No, we're leaving it in so people know how bad your joke was.
I am trying so hard to connect dots here.
It was the subject of a very famous painting. And generally it was just like a normal, albeit apparently gorgeous ship. Mm-hmm. In October of 1867, the Amazon was driven ashore at Cape Breton Island and was damaged so badly that the current owner abandoned it as a wreck.
Damn it, Bezos.
And then, why? Oh, because of the pirate thing. I was like, why are you...
And Amazon.
The f***? Oh, I hadn't made that connection. So, okay.
See? Connecting dots.
I was thinking Amazon rainforest. But...
that is also
anyway.
probably owned by Bezos, let's be real.
No, that one's owned by what's his tits that wants to fucking tear it down.
The Brazilian prime minister.
Yeah, Brazilian Donald Trump.
Yeah, asshole. I think he's getting sued by the indigenous people. He should be, bastard.
That wouldn't surprise me. But anyway, it was...
We have to breathe
the
in
ship...
there.
Do what? Oh, we have to... I thought you were telling me to breathe. I thought you were like, you have to breathe.
No.
That's why I'm drinking the fucking tea, Cass. Have you not been paying attention?
I have been paying attention. I'm paying too much attention. There's dots everywhere and they need to be interconnected. I have this pin board and red string.
Okay, so it was then acquired by one Alexander McBean of Glace Bay, I don't know how to pronounce that word. Something Bay, Nova Scotia. And within a month, he had sold it to, the word is local, but I typed Lovco.
I choked on my Yogi brand tea.
Are we seriously just shilling out for Yogi brand tea right now? You could have just said tea, but you're like, specifically, I choked on my Yogi brand soothing throat balm tea.
Yeah, ironic as it is. But
which, as per the instructions, I boiled water and steeped it for 7 minutes.
Yeah, and then burned myself with it immediately.
Well, I mean, if you don't burn yourself on your tea, are you really drinking tea?
No, it's like if you aren't bleeding on your dress, are you really sewing?
What?
Dots!
Okay, anyway, McBean sold it to a local businessman, who in turn sold it to Richard W. Haynes, who was an American, in November of 1868. All totaled, with like rebuilding and purchasing the ship and all that, Haynes spent... Why are you still giggling?
No.
This is not inherently funny stuff. I'm just telling you what happened to the ship.
I'm trying to calm down. We're too funny.
Do you need a minute?
No. Just ignore me.
Okay. But Haynes spent $10,575, which is just under $200,000 today. He also rebranded it the Mary Celeste and registered it with the New York Commons House or something like that in 1868.
Okay.
Now, in October of the next year, 1869, for those who know how to count,
nice.
The Mary Celeste was seized by Haynes' creditors because he was a broke-ass little bitch and couldn't pay for all the shit that he had done to it.
Oh, rip, he bankrupted himself. Does he get a small loan of $1 million to get himself out of it?
It doesn't say here.
Aw.
It says that it was seized by his creditors, who then turned around and sold it to a New York consortium, from whom the ship's final captain, Benjamin Briggs, purchased 4/12 of the shares of the ship. He didn't own the most shares in the ship, but he owned the most for like a single person.
Right.
At 4/12. But the consortium still owned the ship at this point.
Okay.
And that's basically the history of like how we got to where we're about to talk about.
Okay, so that's the history of the ship itself, and now we're getting into the mystery of the ship itself.
Yes, that is what I said.
Yes.
I didn't use as many words, but that is what I said.
Okay, let's get into it.
All right. So on October 20th of 1872, Briggs arrived at Pier 50 on the East River in New York City. He was supervising the loading of the ship's cargo of 1,700 barrels of denatured alcohol. His wife and 2-year-old daughter joined him a week later, and then on Sunday, November 3rd, Briggs wrote to his mother to say that he intended to leave on Tuesday and said that, quote, "Our vessel is in beautiful trim, and I hope we shall have a fine passage."
Never to be seen from again. Your loving son, Briggs.
Spoiler alert, they did not have a fine passage.
Nope. And you said that he brought his daughter and wife with him?
Yes. His 2-year-old daughter and his wife.
So they were both on the ship, too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's sad.
Tuesday morning, Mary Celeste left Pier 50 with Briggs, his wife and daughter, and 7 crew members, and moved into the New York harbor.
It only takes 7 men to crew a ship.
Well, it wasn't a very big ship. It was just like this isn't like war galleon.
Okay, it helps to know, like, for context, the size of the ship. Cause,
yeah, this is just like a normal cargo ship.
Okay.
Like,
well, I don't know. Sometimes cargo ships can be pretty big.
Like, think in terms of sci-fi, it was probably about the size of, like, I don't know, Firefly.
Okay. Yeah, that makes
Serenity.
sense. Yeah, Serenity
maybe,
versus, like, the Enterprise.
Yeah, maybe a little bigger, but, like, it didn't need a very big crew.
Okay.
The weather was uncertain. Briggs decided to wait for better conditions, so he anchored the ship just off of Staten Island, where Sarah, his wife, used the delay to send a final letter to her mother-in-law, saying, "Tell Arthur, I make great dependence on the letters I shall get from him, and will try to remember anything that happens on the voyage, which he would be pleased to hear." I don't know who Arthur is. I must not have included that in my notes, so we're going to cut that part out.
Oh, that's fine, that's fine. But, I mean, it helps to know that she also left behind a final message. Though, I'm not sure what all that old-timey speak means.
Basically, she's just saying that, like, she really depends on the letters that she's going to get from this Arthur character.
King Arthur, the once and future king.
She's going to try to remember anything that happens while they're sailing so that she can relate it to him later, because...
Maybe that was her lover.
Maybe. I doubt it, because she sent the letter to her mother-in-law, which would be...
You never know. Mother-in-law could be in on it. I mean, sailors, they're gone an awful long time.
I really want to... You know what? I'm going to look this up real quick.
Just to be certain, just so you can, like, shoot this theory down before it gets, like, really full-blown out there.
Who the f*** this Arthur character was. I couldn't tell you who it is. It doesn't say. So, I guess we'll never know.
Okay. It's just a mystery lost to time.
So anyway, 2 days later, the Mary Celeste left the harbor after the weather had eased up a bit and entered the Atlantic. While it prepared to sail, there was a Canadian brigantine, same kind of ship, the Die Gratia.
Die Gratia.
It was in Hoboken, New Jersey, waiting a cargo of petroleum that was destined for Genoa via Gibraltar.
Okay.
The captain of that ship was David Morehouse, and his first mate was Oliver DeVoe. And they were both extremely experienced and respected seamen. Cue the giggling.
I hear that they're actually retiring that term for a more gender-neutral one that doesn't involve a lot of giggling.
Sea people?
Sailors. They're just going to be called sailors.
So Briggs and Morehouse, they had common interests. Some writers think it was likely that they actually knew each other, if only like casually, like you would know,
Yeah.
someone in the same trade, but not, same company kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like you hear about them, and maybe you get like tea about them on occasion, but you don't actually know them. Like,
for instance, when I was over the road as a trucker, I knew of certain other truckers who had been going for a long time that, like just outstanding people that stories circulated about them in truck stops and stuff.
Oh yeah, heroic maneuvers they pulled on like a mountain road with ice going both ways.
Well, there was one dude that just went by audio, and he would get on the CB, and just go audio over and over and over.
That's hilarious.
It was annoying. I only experienced it once, but God, that dude was annoying. Audio, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm sorry, but you were f***ing annoying, bro. So there were also some accounts that say that they were actually close friends that dined together the evening before Mary Celeste departed. But there's limited evidence for this. Basically just a recollection by Morehouse's widow 50 years after the event. The Die Gratia departed for Gibraltar on November 15th, which was 8 days later, following the same general route as the Mary Celeste.
And did it go missing too, or?
No, we're getting to that.
Oh, okay.
It's important because they're the ones who found the Mary Celeste.
Ah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Die Gratia had reached a position about midway between the Azores Islands and the coast of Portugal at about 1 p.m. on Wednesday, December 4th, 1872. Captain Morehouse came on deck, and the helmsman said that there was a vessel about 6 miles in the distance and that it was heading unsteadily towards the Die Gratia. He said the ship's erratic movements and the odd set of the sails led him, Morehouse, to suspect that something was wrong. And as they got closer, he could see that nobody was on deck, and he received no reply to his signals. So he sent DeVoe, his first mate, and his second mate, John Wright, in one of the ship's boats to go investigate. And that's when they found John McCracken. It's kind of like John Cena.
It's just
John
everybody's
Cena
John.
Are you familiar with John Cena memes?
Yes.
Yes.
Like,
John Cena! His music
Bow,
was.
bow, bow.
Yeah. Except here it's John McCracken! So anyway, yeah, so he sent the DeVoe and Wright over to investigate. They were able to tell that this was the Mary Celeste because of the name on the stern, and they climbed aboard and found the ship deserted. The sails were partly set and were in poor condition. Some of them were just missing altogether, and much of the rigging was damaged with ropes just like hanging over the sides and shit.
Oh.
The main hatch cover was secure, but the fore and lazarette hatches were open, and their covers were beside them on the deck. The ship's single lifeboat was a small yawl that had apparently been stowed across the main hatch, but it was missing, and the binnacle housing the ship's compass had shifted from its place, and the glass was broken.
Okay.
There was about 3.5 feet of water in the hold, which is significant but not alarming, like it's not going to capsize the ship or make it sink. And there was a makeshift sounding rod, which is a device for measuring the amount of water in the hold, that was found abandoned on the deck.
Right.
So far, it seems like ship started taking on water, they had to abandon it. But if that's the case, why didn't the ship sink, like if it was that bad?
Yeah, that sounds more like... Shut it, phone. That sounds more like they were in a storm, maybe, and water got in during the storm but was never bailed out.
They found the ship's daily log in the mate's cabin, and its final entry was dated at 8 a.m., November 25th, which was 9 days before. And it recorded the Mary Celeste position as being just off Santa Maria Island in the Azores, which was almost 400 nautical miles from where the Die Gratia encountered Mary Celeste.
Okay.
DeVoe saw that the cabin interiors were wet and untidy from water that had entered through the doorways and skylights, but they were basically in order otherwise. He found personal items scattered about Briggs' cabin, including a sheathed sword under the bed, but most of the ship's papers were missing, along with the captain's navigational instruments, and galley equipment was neatly stowed away. There was no food prepared or, under preparation or anything like that, but there were ample provisions in the stores.
Okay.
There were no obvious signs of fire or violence, and the evidence indicated an orderly departure from the ship by using the lifeboat. So, DeVoe and Wright return back to Die Gratia, and they tell Morehouse what's going on. He decided to bring the Mary Celeste to Gibraltar, which is about 600 nautical miles away. And under maritime law, a salvor could expect a substantial share of the combined value of a rescued vessel and its cargo. The exact amount that they can make depended on the degree of danger that they put themselves in by salvaging the ship. Which in this case, not a whole lot of danger, but I mean,
yeah, they were pretty much okay. It wasn't like it had like gotten onto the shoals or anything.
And even though the sails were kind of screwed up, like it could still sail.
Yeah, but you could still like tie ropes to the other ship and just be like, all right, you got the sails turned in the right direction? Yeah, they're kind of funky, but it'll work. Right.
So Morehouse divided the 8-person crew into between the 2 vessels, and he sent DeVoe and 2 experienced seamen over to the Mary Celeste, while he and the other 4 remained on the Die Gratia. The weather was pretty calm the rest of the way to Gibraltar, but since both ships were severely undermanned, it took them a while, and they finally reached Gibraltar on December 12th.
Okay.
Mary Celeste had encountered fog and arrived on the following morning, and was immediately impounded by the Vice Admiralty Court to prepare for salvage hearings, which is what you have to do when you salvage ship back then.
Yeah, because they got to make sure you didn't crash the ship just to get the bounty.
DeVoe wrote to his wife saying that about the ordeal, saying that I can hardly tell what I am made of, but I do not care so long as I get in safe. I shall be well paid for the Mary Celeste. I don't understand what the he's talking about.
Bow chicka wow wow is what it sounds like, but I know he's talking about a boat.
I have no idea what makes up my body. Well, talk to a scientist.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so we need to get the Elric brothers in here to tell you exactly the percentages of what your body is composed of.
Am I man or am I pudding? I care not, so long as I gain payment for the salvaging of this derelict ship. I don't know why.
Are we human? Or are we dancers?
I don't know why he's British when it clearly said that they were Nova Scotian.
Well, Nova Scotia, Canada, Britain, monarchy, people moving there from Britain, British accents, yes.
Have at ye, ragamuffin.
That's what my dad used to call me when I was 5.
He called you a ragamuffin, or that was his nickname for you?
Yeah, I was a ragamuffin because I never brushed my hair.
Oh. Well, I believe ragamuffin is just like when they used to call hippies beatniks back in like the 60s and 70s.
Oh, that makes totally sense. I was assigned hippie by a therapist.
So what's the, in your professional opinion, what is psychologically wrong with my daughter? Well, she's a fucking hippie, for one. I don't think that's a real psychological ailment. We're gonna go ahead and talk to a different doctor, if you don't mind.
It was like his personality assessment of me was hippie.
So during the salvage court hearings in December 1872, which were conducted by Frederick Solly Flood, he ordered an examination of the Mary Celeste. And this was carried out by John Austin, the surveyor of shipping, with assistance from a diver named Ricardo Portunato.
Ooh, Portunato. That sounds fancy.
It was reported that there were cuts on each side of the bow, caused by a sharp instrument, and that there were possible traces of blood on the captain's sword, on Brigg's sword that was found in his cabin.
Yeah.
Austin further said that the ship didn't appear to have been struck by bad weather and that it had not run aground. Further inspection by a group of Royal Navy captains said that Austin was correct that the cuts on the bow were intentional and deliberate.
That makes sense.
They also found stains on a rail that might have been blood and a deep cut that could have been caused by an axe. Almost like they were like cutting a mooring line or something. And all of this led Flood to believe that this was not some natural disaster. He posited that the crew of the ship had been drunk and murdered the Briggs family and all of the officers.
What?
Well, because remember they were carrying denatured alcohol. But the thing is,
but why does that lead to murder?
It didn't say. It's just what he thought.
Okay.
But the thing is, since it was denatured alcohol, it was non-potable, and he just ignored the fact that it wasn't able to be drank.
Yeah, because that's like drinking, what's the alcohol that makes your blood fizz?
What?
Okay, so there's this type of non-drinkable alcohol that we keep in with our first aid supplies, and when we get cut, like outside or something, the first thing we do is we take a paper towel, dip it in that alcohol, and then clean our wound with it.
Isopropyl
and if
alcohol?
there's bacteria, yeah, isopropyl. And there's another one that starts with an H, and my brain keeps calling up hydroxychloroquine because it's got about the same number of syllables, and it sounds like a sciencey thing, but it's not
peroxide.
hydroxychloroquine at all.
It's hydrogen peroxide.
Hydrogen peroxide, yes!
Which actually, you're not supposed to use that on cuts because...
Really?
You're supposed to clean the wound thoroughly, and alcohol can help to sterilize it, but you're not supposed to use hydrogen peroxide because it gets rid of the good bacteria that helps you heal faster as well as the bad bacteria.
That makes sense.
So it's better to just use isopropyl alcohol to clean any wound that you get.
Okay. So, medicine knowledge brought to you today by our brains.
What the
I don't know. I'm
Brought
sure there's
to
a
you
course
by
about it in the university.
that thing I keep in my skull that occasionally gives me thoughts and headaches. It's like a headache with pictures. You mean a thought? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Where the were we?
The one guy thought that the other people got drunk off of isopropyl and killed the Briggs family.
Right.
And then booked it.
He also thought that the logs had maybe been doctored. He said that there was no way that the ship could have traveled so far while unmanned. But since he had no concrete evidence of any wrongdoing, he was forced to release the Mary Celeste to deliver its cargo on February 25th. And there was more to that. There was the guy who had chartered the ship showed up and was like, "Hey, can you release it so I can deliver its cargo?" And Flood was like, "Ha, insurance fraud, and you're the one who did it." But there was literally no evidence for that. So. But anyway, on February 25th, he was forced to release it so it could go deliver its cargo.
High seas, white-collar crime.
And the Mary Celeste remained in operation until November of 1884, when a man named Gilman C. Parker conspired with a group of Boston shippers, and they loaded the hulls with worthless cargo that was overinsured at $30,000, which is about $850,000 today. He deliberately ran the ship aground and then sold what little of the cargo that could be salvaged to an American consul for $500. And then when the consul tried to claim the insurance policy, it was discovered that the cargo was worthless and that Park and the shippers had committed insurance fraud, and they were tried and sentenced to, I don't know,
the brig.
100 hours of community service on the moon. I don't know.
Elon Musk getting in on Jeff Bezos' business, I see.
Oh, we're going back to time travel. Oh, okay.
I see. Going for that moon colony in this time.
So now we're going to get into a few theories.
Okay.
So one of the big ones was obviously foul play.
Yeah.
But, because it was said that Morehouse may have ambushed the Mary Celeste, laid in wait or, caught up to it and whatever, and pirated its, killed everybody so that he could salvage it. But that was debunked when it was pointed out that the Die Gratia was slower and left port 8 days after the Mary Celeste, meaning that there was no way he would have been able to catch up to the Mary Celeste before it made port in Gibraltar.
Yeah.
There was another theory about foul play is that Briggs and Morehouse were actually working together in order to share on the salvage profits of the ship. But that was dismissed when someone was like, "Don't you think that they would have been a little more fucking discreet about this?"
Just a little bit. Just a teensy tiny bit.
Somebody literally was just like, "Yeah, that's dumb. They wouldn't have been so fucking blatantly obvious about it."
I mean, you have to hide it behind a few layers of subterfuge before it gets revealed in the class trial. You can't have the truth before you get to the third double twist.
Are you fucking talking about Danganronpa again?
Maybe.
I know the basic plot and whatnot of that game. And the moment you said Clash Trial, I knew that's what you were fucking talking about.
I'm sorry, it's a good series.
Is Danganronpa the one that has the fucking evil bear, or is that Persona?
No,
Okay.
I mean, Persona may have an evil bear. I won't judge it for having an evil bear. Well, I think actually it does, but Persona 4 also has like sort of a good, nice bear. I think he has like split personalities. I never finished that game. I broke the PSP before I could.
On purpose? Or?
No, accident. It was the second time I broke it.
I've never played either one of them. So another theory is that a water spout could have hit the ship.
Okay.
Which would have accounted for the water it had taken on and the damage to the sails.
Like a water spout as in like a whale happened to be coming past and it went, I'm coming up for an air. What?
No, like a tornado on the water. Have you ever seen one?
Oh, like a mini hurricane.
Well, they're called water spouts.
Yeah.
It's literally basically like a tornado on the water.
Yeah, mini hurricane.
Yeah. Sure.
Tornado action on water. They had a baby.
So you remember the sounding rod that was found? The makeshift sounding rod?
I think so.
That was abandoned on the deck?
Yes.
Well, there was one theory that a water spout could have hit it and the barometric pressure of the spout could have forced water into the bilge pumps.
Oh.
And made it seem like the ship was taking on more water than it actually was, which would have led Briggs to call for an evacuation of the ship.
That makes sense.
There were other natural phenomena suggested, like a displaced iceberg.
Go Titanic style.
Hit. Right. It was suggested that maybe a sea quake hit that was bad enough to damage the cargo and release noxious fumes.
I love that phrase, sea quake.
It's exactly what you think it is. It's an earthquake on the seafloor.
Uh-huh. Not quite yet a tsunami, but getting there.
Right. In this case, Briggs would have, if this had happened, Briggs would have ordered the ship abandoned in fear of an explosion, but since there was no evidence of an explosion, this theory doesn't
hold water.
Hold water.
Hey!
Fuck you. Let me finish my jokes.
I saw where you were going with it. It was good.
I wrote that specifically so I could do that, and you ruined it.
Sorry. It was a good joke.
Like, I've been literally sitting here waiting for this point in the podcast so I could do that.
Okay. I'll let you have your moment. Go ahead.
No, it's too late. The moment's passed.
Aw, I'm sorry.
It's funnier this way anyway. In 1913, the Strand... Jesus Christ, Cass. I'm putting this in the podcast, by the way. Just 10 minutes of you fucking laughing maniacally.
I can't breathe.
Can't breathe because you're laughing too hard? Try Yogi Brand Breathe Deep Tea.
Okay, oxygen in my lungs.
We should totally just go like full on, full tilt shill for
Sponsor us. Just do like a couple episodes like Markiplier did with Monsanto.
Okay.
Okay.
So, getting back into it, we got a couple. We got just like 2 or 3 more points before we get to the solving portion.
Okay,
So,
I'm good now.
good. So in 1913, the Strand magazine published a supposed survivor's account from a person named Abel Fosdick. Are you fucking kidding me?
His name is Abel Fosdick.
Yeah. Like, of all the stuff that I thought would cause a giggle fit in this episode, I literally did not see that one coming. I don't know how.
His name is Abel Fosdick. Okay. I'm sorry.
He was supposedly the steward of the Mary Celeste.
Okay.
And in his account, he stated that everyone had gathered on a temporary swimming platform to watch a swimming contest, and the platform collapsed. And so everyone except for himself drowned or was eaten by sharks.
That's very specific.
Right.
It's just like everyone either drowned or sharks ate them because we failed a swimming contest. I don't know, man. Sometimes life's like that.
Well, the problem with this is that they got so much shit wrong.
Uh-huh.
Like, first, they named the captain Griggs instead of Briggs.
Holy shit.
They said that his daughter was 7 instead of 2.
Oh, man.
They said that there was a crew of 13 when we clearly stated earlier there was a crew of 7.
Yeah.
And they had no They had no knowledge of nautical language.
Yeah, no. And no sailors in their right mind would ever set sail with a crew of 13. 13 is an unlucky number. And do you know who the most super fucking stitious people on the goddamn earth are? Sailors.
I would say they're up there. I don't know if they're the most superstitious. Why does it feel like a weekday?
I don't
Sorry, I know that was out of nowhere. But like,
it feels like Tuesday.
Like, I legit was in the middle of a sentence. My brain went, man, we got to hurry this up because I'm going to have to be in bed in a couple of hours. And I was like, fuck you, brain. It's Saturday.
Yeah, what are you talking about, brain? I got like a movie night after this.
Yeah, so that one was completely dismissed. One crazy theory was that all of the crew were plucked off the ship one by some kind of like sea monster, like a giant squid or an octopus.
That's hilarious.
Which experts have said that it is possible for a ship that size that a giant squid could maybe take one of the crew.
It was the Kraken. John
McCracken. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh my god. He just...
If we ever have merch, we're going to have to do something about John McCracken.
He just transforms into a kraken when he's not on the ship because he's activated by salt water.
That is very specific.
Yes, but we need John McCracken merch. That'd be amazing.
It was the Bermuda Triangle has been brought up.
Yes.
Even though they were nowhere near the Bermuda Triangle. Also aliens, f***ing of course, because
always.
Like, I don't think I've personally researched a single mystery on this podcast
where aliens haven't been mentioned.
Yeah, like literally, even Jack the Ripper. Somebody thought maybe it was aliens killing all these prostitutes.
I don't know why. Why would aliens want to kill prostitutes? What's the motive?
People are just so eager to believe that prostitutes exist. Not prostitutes.
They're so eager to believe that prostitutes exist. Maybe someone will f*** them if they pay them enough.
I think people are just so eager to believe that aliens exist that they're willing to come up with all kinds of crazy ass shit regarding aliens.
Yeah. And prostitutes.
Yeah.
Maybe prostitutes are the real aliens all along.
You know, those mythical creatures, prostitutes.
Yeah.
Sex workers don't exist, and they're certainly not,
they're like elves.
Completely, they certainly don't get completely f***ed, like, metaphorically.
Yeah.
When it comes to like healthcare and shit, because they're not recognized as an actual occupation, which is fucking stupid because...
it's so dumb. It's the world's oldest occupation. Just legalize it so we can regulate it and get these people safe, because you're not going to stop it. It's like drinking alcohol or smoking weed. You can't stop it. All you can do is try to control it and tax it.
Like, they've literally proven that if prostitution were legal, sex trafficking would go down, or human trafficking would all but disappear in the United States.
Yeah, because there would be no market.
Right. And the only kind of human trafficking that would still exist would be probably child trafficking, because there are sick fucks out there.
Yeah, disgusting pedos.
But they've also proven that like it would be easier to catch child traffickers if prostitution were legal. So
yeah, so just why not? There's no reason not to, except, people being prudish and like judgmental.
Finally, in 1924, there was a fictional story published that a lot of people believed. And it stated that the Briggs family came across an abandoned steam vessel with over 3,000 pounds, like money pounds, not weight pounds.
I would love to have like that many pounds of like American money, just like weighted it.
Well, yeah, it was over 3,000. There's 3,500 British pounds worth of gold and silver in the hold.
Okay.
And so they basically, like in this story, they just abandoned the Mary Celeste and disappeared on this steam vessel to live out their wildest fantasies or some shit.
I mean, yeah, that takes a lot of like assumptions. That sounds like one of the theories we might throw out there, just to be like, I don't know. Maybe they found...
That does kind of sound like something we would come up with.
Yeah, it does.
But those are the facts and the theories as they stand.
Okay.
So since I'm presenting, I'll let you go first.
Okay.
What do you think?
So one theory that I didn't hear, that I was waiting to hear, that I was anticipating and did not get to hear, and so now I get to be here telling you all what I was hoping to hear, was that, alright, so I did think about maybe it was like a sea monster or anything, but probably not, since like the lifeboat is missing. And you've got evidence of, like, a struggle, sort of, but it seemed like everyone left mostly peacefully. So,
Right.
I'm banking on sirens.
Okay.
Because, you know, most of the people on that ship that are going to be crewing it are men, but there was a wife and a daughter. And as we
Right.
all know, sirens only really target men, because most sirens are lady sirens, and they want to drown and eat men. So they could be coming out of the water during like a storm or something. Maybe there was a water spout that hit it and caused like the ship to take on all the water that it got. But that's perfect cover for sirens to come out of the waterworks and start doing their little seductive thing. They're like, oh, hey, auspicious circumstances to maybe get a meal.
Okay.
But the wife wasn't having it. The wife was out here like trying to save everyone's lives, grabbed her husband's sword, and was like, maybe if I cut them, they'll wake up or something. Or maybe like someone used one of the lines to try and get down to where the sirens are, tried to use the boat to get down where the sirens are, and then the sirens started trying to climb up, and so maybe she hacked at it, and that's what caused the gouges in the ship.
Okay.
To try and keep the sirens from getting up there. But ultimately her efforts were in vain. It would seem she was outnumbered.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So there's my theory. What's your theory?
I'm just kind of letting yours stew for a minute in my brain.
Yeah, just sort of thinking on it, mulling it over.
I am assuming that sirens are real.
Assuming. Yes.
Yeah.
It's not fully out there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Assuming.
We've said weirder shit on this podcast.
We have said weirder shit. And as I've said before, fae creatures really are just aliens from Mars who came here in the distant past to escape the destruction of their planet.
That was in the most recent bonus episode, for those of you who have not heard it.
Yeah, and it's free right now, so go check it out.
I'm gonna go with good old John McCracken.
Yeah? What do you
Octopus Pirate of the Seven Seas.
Okay.
We just keep, like, his backstory just keeps getting more and more rich and
He's just so cool.
lavish.
Yeah.
As we...
I'm loving this character.
I think it was pirates.
Mm-hmm.
It was, they came up,
Pulled the I'm the captain now.
realized that the alcohol was non-potable, so they were like, we don't need that.
It's not
But-
tea and rum. What are you doing here?
But have you seen, I know you've seen, Dead Man's Chest?
Pirates of the
Pirates
Caribbean?
of the Caribbean?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been a while, but I've seen it.
So, kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like John McCracken, again, Octopus Pirate of the Seven Seas.
Yes.
Um,
Does he work for Davy Jones now?
he's cursed. No, there is no Davy Jones.
Oh.
He is Davy. He's the Davy Jones.
Oh,
here.
he is the Davy Jones.
He's cursed.
Okay.
And so he took them as slaves for his ship. And they tried to fight back valiantly, but they were outmanned.
Yes, of course.
And, literal monsters. So,
Yeah, literal tentacle monsters. Let's hope that one of the crew members was a monster f***er and is okay with this.
So that's, yeah, mine's pretty simple.
Yeah, I mean...
Completely outlandish, but very simple.
Yeah, John McCracken is the new Davy Jones. Took over from Orlando Bloom. Will Turner. That's the guy. But after...
John McCracken! So, yeah, that's my theory.
I like it.
Thanks, I like yours too.
Thank you. I worked very hard on it.
Regardless, I worked very hard. I've been thinking about it for the last hour. So regardless, there you go, folks. That's another mystery down. It's obviously one of these two solutions, whichever one you want to prescribe to.
Yeah, I think it's fair to let both of them stand and let the viewership decide.
Yeah, you can do that. Now, normally I do my little spiel here, but you probably have it memorized by heart. So.
Yeah, I mean, they go back and rewatch these episodes over and over again just to figure out what the hell we're talking about.
Right. I mean, I would. But instead of doing the spiel, I'll just say this. If you enjoy the podcast, please head on over to iTunes, leave us a glowing review, 5-star rating.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Yeah, and again, anything less than 5 stars, and you're dead to me.
Mm-hmm. Ring that bell.
And in the meantime, speaking of, do you remember back in the day, did you ever eat at Long John Silver's back in the day?
Yes. I don't know why you say back, well, I mean, kind of back in the day, because our Long John Silver's is gone now. Rude. It's been replaced with a Popeyes, which is not as good.
Yeah, that's kind of why I say back in the day. Like, even here in Wichita, there's like 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of them are either like have been turned into something else. Anyway,
it's so rude.
You said ring the bell, and it reminded me of like the bell by the door that you would ring.
Oh, see, I never went inside a Long John Silver's. We just got drive-through.
Yeah, there's a bell by the outdoor
Oh.
in most Long John Silver's, and like if you enjoyed your meal, you would ring it, and they'd go, "Thank you."
Oh, that's lovely. I love that.
My mom would never let me ring it. Not because we didn't get good service, but she knew that I was a little shit and I would just go fucking nuts on it. Anyway, yeah, and so yeah, leave us, go review and rate the podcast on iTunes. And in the meantime, we'll see you right back here next Saturday for a brand new mystery that we'll totally solve. And remember not to question us or you'll be put down.
Mercilessly.
With no mirth. There will be no happiness involved. We don't enjoy putting you down, but we've kind of set a reputation for ourselves, and we got to do it.
Yeah, I mean, by this point.
But yeah, so we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Shut up, guys. This is why I don't do these things in person.
My name is Paige, and I'm the host of Reverie True Crime. Reverie means to daydream, but even daydreams can turn into nightmares. Join me as I tell you haunting and horrific reveries about missing people and senseless murders. I also interview survivors and people seeking justice for themselves or a loved one. New episodes come out every Monday morning, and sometimes you'll get bonus episodes on Thursdays. Wherever you're listening to this current podcast right now, you can find Reverie True Crime.